Your eyes do not deceive you. Yes, it is Out of Pocket with Michael Davis, not at 5:30, but it's 3:30. And you may be thinking, well, I know we changed the clock back, this past Sunday, is Out of Pocket at a new time? I may have missed Mondays. Um that could be it, right? But that's not what we're doing today. Instead, we're not giving you not one, but 2 hours of Out of Pocket live today on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. My throat and voice is still trying to recover from all the podcasting and all the things. So bear with me because we are going 2 hours today. Won't be any easier. Won't be any easier, but thankfully, I'll have some help. We'll be joined by some people who, you've seen on Out of Pocket before. Podcast Smitty will be joining me here in a little bit. Aitman from the Blue Ridge Football Podcast, he'll be joining me. Jason from Three from Deep and Sideline Savants will be joining me later on as well. All in their own allotted schedules over the next 2 hours to talk about the NFL trade deadline. Now, you guys may be wondering, usually Tuesdays are for top quarter rankings. And yes, I will still give my top quarter rankings, ranking teams from 8 to 1. But with the trade deadline literally 28 minutes away at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we want to cover everything that is happening. So we're going to keep you guys updated the best we can. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to have a ticker at the bottom of here showing you all the trades so far. And we'll continue to update this list as we hear more word. I'm locked and loaded. I mean, we're not sponsored yet, but we got the beverages, we got the refreshments here today. I'll take a few Gatorade breaks. Our Wrestling Destiny host Sean Lucas, very, very popular for his water break. But this is my energy drink break. It's not an energy drink, but it replenishes the electrolytes, I've been told. There you go. I'm waiting for the sponsorship. But guys, you can see some of the big moves that were made so far today, and it's not over yet. It is not over yet. We'll continue to update list as we go on. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here in the next 26 minutes? Rick 8-Bit join us live from his job. It's Out of Pocket trade deadline frenzy. Yes, it is. It is going to be absolutely crazy today. It is going to be wild. I'm not even sure that we've seen our final trade so far. I have a gut feeling. I have a feeling in the pit of my stomach that the trades that you are seeing on the bottom ticker right now, if you're watching live on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel, these are not the only trades that will go down today. That is my gut feeling. There's a few people who haven't been traded yet. DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks has not been traded yet. Jason on Gatorade, myself too. Let's go. We're the Gatorade guys. We're the Gatorade guys today. Jason will be joining me a little later on this episode to not only talk about how this trade deadline shapes up, he'll be catching the tail end of these 2 hours special, but he'll also give some fancy football implications. Him being a co-host of Sideline Savants. Sideline Savants has the day off tomorrow. They'll resume their content next week, but we're going to have Jason in to make sure we get that covered because your fantasy football matchups matter and they're important. And we still want to make sure that you're covered. So DK Metcalf doesn't look like he's going to be traded. That is the report coming out of Seattle. And also, somebody we've been critical of here the last few weeks, Anthony Richardson. Ever since he subbed himself out because he was tired, teams actually have inquired about Anthony Richardson, and the Colts have just basically said he is off limits. For whatever reason, they have not given up hope. on Anthony Richardson, their 2023 first round pick. And, the Panthers haven't given up on Bryce Young, their first overall pick in the 2023 draft. As of right now, he is still a Carolina Panther, but that doesn't mean much because we got 24 minutes left, and the Panthers have already given up on their 2023 second round selection. They dealt him to the Dallas Cowboys today. And let's just go ahead and say I put out an article on Fans First Sports Network that you can find at fansfirstsports.com covering more of the Jonathan Mingo trade to the Dallas Cowboys. And before I bring in my first guest, before I bring in podcast_Smitty, I do want to address this a little bit because let's just be honest. This was not a fun trade. I was very high on Jonathan Mingo last year. I was hoping the Cowboys would draft Jonathan Mingo, and he didn't fall to us in the second round. For whatever reason, he didn't fall to us. The Panthers actually selected him. And at the time, I was covering the Carolina Panthers with the guest I'll have on here in a few moments, Shannon Smith. We were part of the Cat Cave, which is part of Fans First Sports Network. And now I get to cover the Cowboys for Fans First Sports Network through the Star Stud Cowboys Network. Dad's still recovering, from being a little under the weather. I think everybody's getting a bug right now. It's whatever. I think everybody's getting a bug right now, but hoping and praying my dad gets better soon and he starts feeling like himself. So we can talk that in the boys because we got to talk that Jonathan Mingo trade. My initial reaction was it was too much that we gave up. Now, I do love the upside of Jonathan Mingo. I think you get a player onto a new team with a new quarterback. Obviously, the guy behind me, Dak Prescott, is not going to be there for potentially the next 4 weeks, likely headed to IR, would miss 4 games. So it's going to be Cooper Rush and maybe a sprinkle or two of Trey Lance in there, throwing the ball to Jonathan Mingo as he starts his Dallas Cowboy career. But guys like that, you can always just see hey, maybe he didn't have a good quarterback or maybe he didn't have a good offense around him, and they're able to resurrect their careers in a new team. My issue with this is the Cowboys, their troubles weren't at wide receiver. We're getting Brandon Cooks back soon. Jalen Tolbert started to come on. Yes, CD Lamb's hurt, but he can still play. We have a tight end, Jake Ferguson, who can go. Luke Schoonmaker probably needs to be more involved in the offense. I'd love to see Kevontae Turpin more involved. But our issue is our offensive line can't block enough for Dak to let the ball go. Our running game is non-existent, which means everybody can rush the passer and drop back into coverage. And they have no respect for the run game because Dallas can't run the ball. And so I'm looking at a name that hasn't been traded yet. Alvin Kamara. The New Orleans Saints traded Marshawn Lattimore to the Washington Commanders. I'm going to dig deeper into that with Washington fan and Blue Ridge Football podcast host Aitman Chambers a little later on as we get past that 4 p.m. deadline. I was really hoping and really thinking if Dallas was pursuing something this year, they would go after Alvin Kamara, especially seeing some of these other people leave their teams. But you're telling me that the Cowboys had to give up a 4th round pick for a guy with a lot of upside. Jonathan Mingo has upside. Let's not go past that. And everybody's like, oh, he hasn't had a touchdown and his first career 24 games and this one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one. Yeah, that's true. But there was no offense at all last year. There's been no offense the first 2 games this year. Andy Dalton's had, a nice game or two, but the Panthers are 2-7. If there's any team playing worse than the Dallas Cowboys right now, it's Carolina Panthers. Let's just be honest. Now, you don't like Jonathan Mingo falling on the depth chart when it comes to where the Panthers were. Xavier Legette, first round pick, leaped over Jonathan Mingo in the depth chart. Coker leaped over Mingo in the depth chart. The Panthers also traded away Deontay Johnson, who is now a Baltimore Raven. The Ravens are making more moves now, trading for Tre'Davious White from the LA Rams, the former Buffalo Bills corner. And this is crazy because they also just swapped 7th round picks for this. So basically giving Tre'Davious White to the Baltimore Ravens for free. And that was my issue with Dallas is they didn't make a move that didn't cost them something. You would have hoped that they would have gotten Jonathan Mingo for at the most a 5th rounder, maybe a 6th, maybe a 7th. That's what I was hoping Dallas could do. Instead, you see a team like the Kansas City Chiefs last week or a couple weeks ago acquiring DeAndre Hopkins for a conditional 5th round pick. That doesn't help their case. So Dallas didn't. They made a move, which I'm actually shocked Jerry did something. If they didn't do anything, we would have been poking them with a stick and saying, "Do something, do something, do something." He did something. Did he give up too much to do it? Potentially, especially when you look at what other teams are making deals for when it comes to the NFL trade deadline. Just a few more things that I want to cover before we get our first guest here on Out of Pocket. You're seeing them all now. We've covered the Cowboys getting Jonathan Mingo. We've talked a little bit about Commanders acquiring Marshawn Lattimore. But this next one, the Lions acquiring Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns is probably the biggest move we've seen yet. Obviously, Detroit devastated by Aiden Hutchinson. That was one of the worst news you could hear of a potential defensive player of the year candidate in Aiden. But you go out and you get Zadarius Smith. I think Zadarius Smith helps them. I really do. I think Zadarius Smith helps them. Jason mentioning huge Lions poised to take the chip. I agree. I agree, Jason. I agree. That is huge. And I will say, especially after they beat the Packers, Detroit might have moved up in my top quarter rankings this week. Maybe. Want to know, and you'll have to stick around a little longer to know if I put the Detroit Lions or the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1, or who knows? Why not somebody else? Rick 8-Bit saying Lions are currently the 1 seed in the NFC. That is true. Washington Commanders, by the way, at the 2 seed. Who could have seen that coming? That feels like something you're playing on Madden and 3 years ago, and you're like, really? Lions? Commanders? Top of the NFC? This Madden game ain't real. Well, guys, this is real. And both of those teams are legit. Good point here by Jason. A really good point here by Jason. Smith playing with the fire that Dan Campbell lights under his players could be huge. I mean, it could be huge moving forward for the Detroit Lions and Zadarius Smith in his career. Smith isn't the only, or I should say Zadarius isn't the only Smith right now who has moved teams. So we'll cover more of that too. Rick 8-Bit, I'm so mad, told my coworkers to watch out for Commanders before the season. Yeah. If you had done DraftKings and you would have done really well, my friend, and I would have asked for a little bit of a cut. Just to help, But yeah, Commanders are doing really good stuff. Commanders getting Marshawn Lattimore, steal. Absolute steal. Absolute steal. As a Cowboys fan wearing the polo today, I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset that happened. So, unfortunately, Commanders acquiring Marshawn Lattimore. I did call it, by the way, on yesterday's Out of Pocket. I did call it. I called it. I told people, hey, 2 names you need to watch out for moving, because the Saints had just fired Dennis Allen yesterday. Saints had just fired. You got to get a drop to help the throat as you're doing a 2-hour live stream on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel. I told people, watch out. Marshawn Lattimore could get traded. Alvin Kamara could get traded. So, I mean, I am constantly refreshing browsers. I am constantly on Twitter right now trying to make sure we don't miss anything that could happen today. So, you're seeing more of the trades that are moving forward right now. Jason, in of itself, ESPN coverage. So, this is huge. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to try not to choke to death. First ever commercial break on Out of Pocket. Hope you heard all our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors yet, but if you guys are interested, that would be awesome. Get us in touch with anyone you can. Guys, I told you I was not going to be alone. Okay? So, we've got this, right? There were people who were like, hey, I can be on this time to this time. There are people I can be on this time to this time. We've called in some reinforcements. We've called in some reinforcements today, and we're just going to have a party. We're going to have a ball. And so I am super excited to bring you here these people. Rick 8 also saying, send me a link for sponsorship. I got you. We'll get the links down. You heard me talking about him. He is the co-host of Sideline Savants. He's the host of Three from Deep. We got Jason in the building, Mr. NY. Uh, Dude, how are you doing? What is your initial reaction to everything happening with the trade deadline?
Not too surprised. Nothing like earth shattering yet. Um, I was pleased to see the Steelers going for both sides of the ball. That just kind of goes to show. I think the Steelers are really trying to make a push uh, to kind of stay up top. I think the Ravens kind of losing a few games here and there open the door for the Steelers to really kind of continue to push forward and lead that division. So it was real interesting to see that Mike, with Mike Williams getting their wide receiver that they needed. But again, the Lions with Zadarius Smith, I mean, if the Chiefs weren't 8-0 and they're an ugly, quiet 8-0, which is kind of weird to say, because they barely won that game last night in overtime against a kind of depleted Bucs team. But the Lions getting Smith to shore up that defense. And if the Lions play out, if what I'm hearing is true and Hutch can come back to play in the Super Bowl, what a story that would be. So excited to see that. And then the Commanders, getting Lattimore. I think that's huge also. Commanders with 7-2 with a rookie quarterback playing as well as they are. And again, you heard, and I've been hearing that here too, that players want to come to Washington to play. I can't remember the last time I heard rumors that NFL players actually wanted to come play in the DMV. So to get Lattimore, again, you talk about a resurgence. You got a 4-time Pro Bowler, had 15 career interceptions, no interceptions this year because he's playing on a really just not a very good Saints team. All of a sudden to come to a first place team. Again, you talk about that injection of just excitement. I think he's going to play his lights out for that Commanders team. So watch out for them. They're making moves. So it's interesting. Very, very interesting move so far this today. And again, I got ESPN behind me too. So I'm trying to stay. I'm doing my wannabe Adam Schefter thing here. I got my phone. I was a little under the weather today too. So kind of power through it. I got my Gatorade here too with my
Cheers.
I didn't want to. I got my frozen cup here, but no, it very interesting. And then again, your Cowboys. I mean, I understand getting Mingo. I think with CeeDee Lamb kind of being on the lamb, a little hurt here, needing kind of a little bit of a backup. But to me, they needed so much more. I kind of don't understand that move. Maybe just throwing something just to be in the news to get somebody. I don't know. I don't know what your Cowboys are doing because they have so many other needs right now.
Way too many other needs.
I know there's a lot of teams asking about Young and asking about Richardson now. So I mean, so it's interesting that I guess people are trying to make moves on the backside of things. But I know a lot of teams aren't just giving up the farm like they used to.
Yeah, unless you're Dallas and give up a 4th-round pick. But Jason, not only are we hurting physically and we're pushing through and we're trooping through, I appreciate you, making that sacrifice. But our NFC East teams are hurting. But I know a guy who NFC East team is thriving for one of the very few years of his life. I gotta take a shot when I can because usually he's not needing to be humbled. But I'm welcome in somebody joining us for the trade deadline coverage as we have 5 minutes until the trade deadline hits at 4 p.m. He's from the Blue Ridge Football Podcast. Please welcome in Aitman Chambers. Aitman, it's great to have you on, my friend.
Oh, man, it's great to be back with you. What a day. What a day for the DMV. What a day for Washington fans. I'll get my camera adjusted here in just a minute. But, dude, I I'd never dreamed we would be here. The couple of times we were on preseason with each other, I never thought we would be at this point to talk about this with this team. I never dreamed we would be first in the NFC East, 9 games into the season, but the NFL's a week to week league. This is what we are here for. And hey, sign me up for it. I'm game for it. I mean, this is what we all love about the NFL. This is what we all love about pro football at what it does, at the way it galvanizes fan bases. And it's a week to week league and a year to year thing. I mean, man, I don't know. I really don't know how to feel because it's just this doesn't happen to us, but it also goes to show when you get good ownership in the building and and you hit at quarterback. That's the main thing. You appear to have hit on the quarterback position, and everybody knows in the NFL that the premier way to open a Super Bowl window for any franchise is to hit on the quarterback position and do it while they're on their rookie deal. That's the blueprint to get it done now. And you start to make moves like this for Marcus Lattimore, who is exactly what the team needs, a true lockdown corner. That's been the glaring hole need from the start of the season. They get that now. This is a guy who's not allowed a single touchdown in pass coverage when he's been the corner in coverage since 2021. And this season alone, when he's been on the field for the Saints, he has a negative 12.3 completion percentage. That is third lowest in the NFL behind Jalen Johnson for the Bears, who's first, and Renardo Green for the 49ers, who is second. This is the kind of guy when you're Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, who know how to get the most out of defensive backs. They did it in Dallas. Look how the defensive back play has been this year compared to last year with the way that the scheme can work. I'm just over the moon. I think this is the kind of player you needed to go get. You owed it to yourself and owed it to this franchise if you were the ownership, and you owed it to your quarterback with the way he has played to try to put you in the position to maybe win a playoff game this season.
Yeah, dude, I know you're over the moon. By the way, podcast me saying, "Am I too late?" It's a party. Come join the party. It's the NFL trade deadline. We're 2 minutes away from the trade deadline officially being crossed and over. Now, of course, like whenever 4 o'clock hits, that doesn't mean the news stops coming in. That's why we're still continuing to be on today at a special start time. We were on at 3:30 today. And so, podcast mate, you're not too late. Just come join the party. We'd love to have you. We'd love to talk to you. Even if you are a 49ers fan, we'd love to talk to you. It is pretty funny, though. Aitman was telling me, hey, I would really love to do an NFC East thing. And then we got it here. And oh my goodness, say his name and he appears. Do you believe in podcasts _Smitty? Clap, clap. Shannon Smith here in the building. Shannon, good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Took me a while to get here, having to take care of stuff for the election. It's been nuts, but I'm good now, so I got a little bit of time. So, yes, let's go.
Let's go. Hey, this is why I enjoy. Yep, there's the elections happening. I hope you guys exercise your right to vote if you wish to do so. But it's NFL trade deadline. 1 minute for teams to get these deals done and finalized. We'll also probably hear of players who almost got traded and didn't. There's always those guys. Shannon, is there a guy who, we haven't heard their name pop up yet that you're surprised hasn't been moved as far as we know yet?
I was going to say Mike Williams. I was going to say him, but he's already gone. So, I saw that coming because I think the Jets are kind of like the way the Saints and the Panthers are in tank mode. I think they are. The Jets are in denial right now, to be honest with you. They're in denial because, they've got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I don't think they think they're in tank mode, but they really are. So the Saints are already unloading, which I'm pretty sure Aikman's loving that right now because, they've got a garbage defense. I'm here to tell you right now, when when your only win is against the Panthers, you go out there and you lose to the Panthers in close quarters, you might as well just go ahead and just get rid of the squad. Just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because, this is coming from a guy who covers the Panthers. I get it. So, like, I would probably be the same way. I'm like, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Everybody's fired. We're firing everyone, the hot dog vendor and everybody else. Get out. So, but as of right now, I think everybody that was going because, the trade deadline is for those squads that are going to either tank, like, the squads that are in tank mode because they're getting rid of everyone. And then, the squads that are reloading, like, the Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs, that came through pretty big with good trades. Then, the like squads that are mid-grade, they're kind of sitting around, chilling, seeing what's going on here. But for the most part, I didn't see anything, not anyone that I know that I can think of off the top of the head. Not really.
Aitman, what about you? Do you have a guy that comes to mind your surprise is, as far as we know, trade deadline was a minute ago, so we could still hear some news.
Off the top of my head, I mean, I was kind of like Shannon. Mike Williams was the guy that I figured would be on the move. I know that the Jets fielded calls apparently for DJ Reed. I know Washington, that was one of the places they went, was DJ Reed also. Because you got to remember, Adam Schefter put out the report last week, as Jason mentioned a little bit ago. Players want to come here now. When you have a young quarterback that is energized the building and ownership that has shown that they care about their players now and doing the right thing, players are going to want to come here now. And we have the second most cap space in the league with that rookie quarterback deal that's in place too. So we've got cap room to play with. But I wondered about Mike Williams. The one that kind of shocked me a little bit was the Preston Smith deal that went down to Pittsburgh to add another pass rusher for them. I thought he could be in play, but if you're Green Bay, your season's still in front of you. I mean, Malik Willis hasn't looked bad when he's played this year. I think Matt LaFleur has kind of schemed his game plan when Malik Willis has played to the benefit and tailored around what he does best, and that's ride Josh Jacobs and not make Malik Willis have to carry your offense. Just let him pick his spots throughout the game. But I didn't think the Packers would sell anybody off. I mean, they didn't really get much of anything in return for Preston Smith. They got a 7th-round pick. Well, I can't sit here and tell you that they really gained an awful lot by giving up one of their edge rushers when we know how valuable edge rushers are. That's kind of the move I look at, and I think, I don't know that you really didn't get better. If anything, you got worse in a division where you have to get after the quarterback when you play when you're playing Sam Darnold now, or when you're playing Jared Goff twice a year, and even Caleb Williams. Like, you have to be able to get after the quarterback in the NFC North.
Also, Rick 8-Bit saying allegedly Khalil Davis of Texans to 49ers. We're going to get confirmation on that.
I just saw it. Yes, that seems to be legit.
Wow. Okay.
West is up for grabs now. The NFC West is up for grabs with the Rams getting healthy at the right time. The 49ers getting some guys back right now. Seattle, we don't know what's going on. That was another one right there. When they talked about DK Metcalf probably getting traded, I'm like, what? I wish it would have happened. That'd have been good for everybody else in the division. But I'm like, you're gonna trade away one of your best receivers? Okay, sounds good. But yeah, that NFC West is up for grabs because after the bye week with the 49ers, the Rams getting healthy, and Arizona also too is hanging around in there. So this is a good move for my guys. I didn't expect for them to pull the trigger on anybody yet.
Man, Jason, what's your initial reaction to this move? Getting the defensive tackle from Houston to San Fran. With Shan says the division's up for grabs, I completely agree.
Well, they needed to do something. The Cardinals went out and got Baron Browning earlier from the Broncos, so they shored up their defense also. I'm actually surprised no movement from the Rams. I know, Cooper Kupp was in kind of, maybe they were going to try to trade him away and get something for him. But, again, that that NFC West is up for grabs right now. I think it's if whoever gets healthy enough and strings together enough wins can win that division right now. So I'm just surprised the Rams didn't make any moves either way, which was pretty interesting. So I'm more interested in the teams that didn't do any moves. You didn't see anything from the Dolphins. You know, they're obviously hurting right now. They didn't make any dumping moves. They didn't kind of dump any money there, or try to bring somebody in. You know, some of the other teams that are out there, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I know they just got their wide receiver in Cooper, but that defense needed a little help up there in Western New York too. So there's a few teams out there that I'm surprised that didn't kind of make any noise. And then the Commanders, I mean, that's a great move, Lattimore, but I think they needed another offensive piece. I'm surprised they didn't try to get I know they were trying to get Reed from Green Bay, but they definitely can use another wide receiver to pair with Scary Terry up there in Washington. So there's some teams out there I'm surprised that really didn't make any noise in this draft and this trade deadline.
Yeah, and Rick 8-Bit bringing clarification, gave a 2026 7th round pick to get Khalil Davis. And Shan, I mentioned that the 49ers were probably going to win this division now, especially getting Christian McCaffrey healthy.
Not yet. I mean, it's still out there with Brandon Ayuk still hurt. Debo is still a little bit day to day, you know, getting over sickness. But I think it is good. Still, we didn't expect for it to be a gauntlet in the NFC West. We didn't expect for it to be, but it's turned into a gauntlet now, especially with the health of two teams getting better. So it's turning into it. Like, it might turn into the NFC North all of a sudden with this second half of the season coming, but who knows?
Who knows? The Commanders are making some waves right now in that division. It's really a race between them and Philadelphia. You know, Jason mentioned maybe like pairing somebody with Scary Terry, but Aitman, just knowing what we have right now, your Commanders probably won this trade deadline with Marshawn Lattimore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that by far and away, and the fact that he has 2 more years left on his deal, non-guaranteed money at that. So if it was to go south over these last 7-8 weeks of the season, you're not really on the hook for anything, while the Saints are hitting $14 million in dead cap next year and about $10 more million the year after that. And if we want him, well, it's $18 million the next 2 years, which for a true number one corner in today's NFL, you'll take $18 million a year, you know, if you can get it. And in this division, you got to have a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, because you see A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith twice a year. You see C.D. Lamb twice a year. You see Malik Neighbors if the Giants can get somebody at quarterback that can unlock Neighbors' true number one potential, I think he could end up being really good. For at least I've had him on fantasy this year, and he's had some good weeks for me, even with Daniel Jones under center. But nonetheless, I'm excited. I think it's going to be interesting. The other note I will say, I think a lot of people wondered, I never thought anything would actually materialize from it. The Panthers choosing to keep Bryce Young. I know that from everything I read, there was quite a bit of chatter that came in especially over the last week, after they saw him playing a little bit better, would teams be willing to step up their offer to possibly get Bryce Young? And I never thought the Panthers were serious about trading him anyway. I think it's way too soon to give up on a number one overall pick. You still, I mean, now, I think the Panthers now have, after the Mingo trade today, I think it's like 11 draft picks in this upcoming draft. You got to let Dan Morgan have a full draft cycle here to pick the guys they want to pick, put them out there on the field and see what happens. Because, again, there's nowhere to go but up, but I'll take 11 draft picks in one draft.
It's about daggum time, considering the fact that they've thrown away every single thing that they could in the draft the whole time. When you get 11 picks and you can play around with this draft class is coming in, because the quarterback position in the draft this year is going to be kind of shallow water. I think, of course, Cam Ward is going out.
He's going to be good. He's going to be good.
No, he is. And I think he will. It depends on the squad, though, for real. Dylan Gabriel is coming out. You got Dylan Gabriel. I'm not really sold on the guy from Georgia, considering the fact he threw 3 picks and they still ended up winning. It's shallow water for the quarterback position this year. So you might be able to get away with it, but also the thing about it is that receivers are a dime a dozen in these drafts nowadays. So even though I might be a hypocrite for saying this, but paying a lot of money for receivers nowadays, considering the fact that they're just like dropping them off in college football like crazy, there are going to be a lot of receivers coming out for the draft this year, and a lot of those guys are going to be really, really good. So, I mean, hopefully Travis Hunter might be one of those guys that Carolina picks up. He will probably play out, and you don't even know what position he's going to play in the league because he can play both of them. He can play both of them. I mean, that's the bad part. This dude is good at both positions, and you're like, so what do you want to play? That's going to be weird. That's going to be weird asking a guy like, hey, you want to play receiver or corner? It doesn't really matter because you're good at both. I'm like, what? So
you'll see him play both. You'll see if he falls to the right team, you'll see a guy knowing what kind of a playmaker he is. You will see schemes and sets where he is contributing on both sides of the field. I truly do believe that if he gets with one of these younger, innovative-minded coordinators and a team that, say it is, Dave Canales and the Panthers, or say if it's, somebody else, somebody's going to see his ability to impact the game on both sides of the football. I don't think it's sustainable long-term. You can't let him play both sides much because college and NFL is so different, but there will be packages where he will be on the field a few times a game on offense. I truly do believe that.
Now, Mike, and is it cool if I ask this question? I ain't going to try to take your show.
You know what? You it's cool you asked that question.
I mean, I'm not going to just barge in on your show like that, man. That ain't cool. I'm used to doing the solo podcast, so I ain't got to ask nobody. I ask me, and me for questions. So, I mean,
the line is me, myself, and I. But it's a party right now. It's a hangout. You go ahead and throw that question out.
The question I want to ask you guys is, with a player like Travis Hunter, are we going to see this like perpetually in college football where one guy's going to play both ways? Are we going to see that again?
I don't think so. I think that's going to be super tough. I mean, when was the last time you really saw that before? I think this is kind of an anomaly. This is not the 80s and early 90s where you had guys doing that, or you had a Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson playing two different sports kind of deal. I mean, it's with the way the games are played today, with how much money is involved. Because again, the answer to every question ever is always about money. So if you're going to fork over a ton of money for this kid and you want him to go out there and perform, you're going to give him, this is going to be where are you going to fit? Here's where you're going to fit in our scheme. We're going to play you here. We're going to keep you here. Maybe down the road, I may fit you in here or there, but I want to keep you healthy because I'm investing a lot of money into you. So even in college, you talk about nil money. So now you've got that in place. So are these kids really going to risk, hey, I got a $1 million nil deal. Am I going to risk that playing offense, defense, special teams? No, they're going to play what they want to play. They're going to go where they want to go and know they're going to get premium output for the least amount of risk. So, and that's all playing football is you're mitigating risk. So where can I get to the promised land without losing my career? So it's going to be tough. I mean, it's amazing what he can do, but I think that's kind of an anomaly right now.
Aikman, would you agree with that sentiment?
I would. You can't. It's not sustainable in the NFL. It's just not. It's so different. Again, he will be a spot player on offense, but he will make his biggest contributions, I think, on defense. I think
really
at corner, that's where I would look at playing him is at corner. I think his natural instincts that he brings to the table, I just think he's got the potential to be that Marshawn Lattimore type of corner in the NFL. I think he can do a lot of things. Now, granted, look, I mean, he may fall to a team that says, you know what? We like what you're going to do on offense, and maybe they push him to play more on the offensive side of the ball. You're a byproduct in the NFL where you get drafted with the coaching and everything that's in place. if they want to use you a certain way, chances are you're probably going to do however they want to scheme you up. Now, I think he's just a weapon on the defensive end of the football. I really do. I think he's going to end up being a ball hawk, a guy that can win games for you defensively, that can go in. He will be able, maybe not in year one, he's got to get his feet under him, but he can go in and he's going to match up well with the A.J. Browns and the Devontae Smiths and some of these other guys as he gains the experience. I would love to see him fall to a team that already has a number one corner where he could slot in as the number two guy as a rookie to get his feet under him. If the way I view this is, if even though a corner may not be a pressing need for you if you have a number one corner, but if he's on the board and your BPA, best player available come NFL draft night, that's a guy I run to the podium and take, because you can let him be your number two corner as a rookie, which I think is an absolute gem to have two top cornerbacks potentially on your defense. And then if you want to toy with the idea of maybe having him do a little bit of offense, or maybe every once in a while he helps you in a kick return in a key spot, maybe in a punt return or something like that, whatever else you want to do. But I do think defense is where I would put my money on him making his biggest impact in the NFL.
I mean, I'm almost the exact opposite. If I can, like, I'd almost want him on offense. I feel like he is that playmaker. When it comes to defense, you're adding extra reps to your belt, especially if you try to play packages with him on both sides of the football, and you could just tire him out. But also, like, offenses can decide whether they're going to throw to that side of the field. Now, Grant, you would, shut down one side of the field, obviously, but, we wouldn't see as many like splash plays from Travis Hunter that, when he makes those splash plays for Colorado, it electrifies that stadium, the fans, the sideline, the players on the field. Travis Hunter already this season, 60 catches, 757 yards, 8 touchdowns. Those numbers are higher than any other number he's had so far in his career. And we still have a few more games to go here in this college football season. So I want to see Travis Hunter on offense, Smitty.
Another question. This crap about quarterbacks not being developed, considering the fact that we got a guy that's got a rookie quarterback that's exceeding expectations right now. Since all this about, well, college.
Bateman's like, I'm having a good day.
Right. I mean, this is odd that you're starting to hear this now, when you have quarterbacks falling on their face, and then you got that one guy that's exceeding expectations. Y'all believe in this whole thing about college football not developing quarterbacks for the NFL?
I would say, me personally, I would love for more colleges to have quarterbacks taking the ball under center. I feel like that's missing a little bit in the NFL, but also, throwing them in there, reading the NFL defense is so much different than reading a college football defense. Like, coaches actually have to know, hey, how much can I throw onto my quarterback that isn't too much too soon, but can still allow him to play within his talents and athletic abilities that he's making a change on the field. Like, Aitman, your team again, like, Jane Daniels is probably offensive rookie of the year right now.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say about you guys didn't have to
if we keep I'm gonna say this.
Wait for Captain Obvious to come walk through the door right now.
I mean,
that was settled.
The eye test
Yeah, it will. And I'll say this. If we keep it up and we finish in that 12-4 range and we go to the playoffs and we win a playoff game, he will be getting the votes for MVP. I really do think it'll happen. He will get, and I'm not saying he's going to get it, but he won't get it. Lamar Jackson's going to be my favorite to probably get it. He's going to be one of those guys, but if they go to the Super Bowl or hear me out, Jared Goff. You can't take take it away from Jared Goff's completion percentage and what he is doing in that Detroit offense. If I had my three guys that are deserving at MVP right now, it's Goff, Lamar, and Jaden Daniels are the only three guys I'm taking under consideration for MVP, because I think Kansas City has more holes for an undefeated team than anybody in recent memory that has had this start to the season. Kansas City is making by with what they're doing right now. I love that they got DeAndre Hopkins for a 5th-round pick. I'm going to cough at the fact that the Dallas Cowboys gave up a 4th for Jonathan Mingo when, just kind of let that lay there when you give a 4th for Mingo, but Hopkins goes for a 5th. But nevertheless, I'm not sold that Kansas City, they may make it out, they may not, but I'm not as worried about Kansas City. I think, again, MVP, it's Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels are my 3.
Derrick Henry,
Rick 8-bit telling it like
thank you, Rick 8-bit.
This is why Lamar's playing
Lamar
good.
Jackson is benefiting from the king because this is going to give him some longevity this season.
And when are we going to stop giving the MVP to a quarterback every single year? And it's getting on my nerves. The last non-quarterback to win an MVP was AP in 2012, and the last defensive player to win it was Lawrence Taylor. What's up there, Jason? In 1986, and remember, he went to North Carolina. So hey, let's chill, everyone. He went to North Carolina. So yes, and that was the year I was born. Yes, it was wonderful. But okay. And then one more question, last question, and I'll leave you alone there, Mike. I'll let you have your show back. Sorry about that. I get tired of talking to myself on my own show. I really do. And so, Jason knows what I'm talking about,
it's hard. I don't know how you do it, man. I don't like talking to myself. I don't know how you do it.
You guys saw me like 15 minutes. I was about to die before you guys came in here.
But for real, serious question now, since we talked about Travis Hunter, all of us here have one vote for the Heisman Trophy. And it's between Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. Who you voting for? Who you got? I want to hear this. I got an argument for both.
Boise, Idaho.
Woo!
I'm going Boise. The kid deserves it. When you pull up FanDuel Sportsbook on a Saturday and your anytime touchdown odds are like -4 and 500, come on. At this point, it's just like, give it to the kid. He deserves it. There will be some team I could see taking him in the 1st round because he's going to come in with that kind of – I think if you can get him a team that's going to have a back-end 1st-round pick, especially if people start to have this hysteria about taking a running back high in the NFL draft, like high in the 1st round, I would love it. That's a kid – I don't care how I look in my running back room. That kid runs hard. He's physical. That's a kid I would use a 1st-round pick on that kid in a heartbeat.
I would. You gave me the option of Hunter and Ashton Jeanty.
Because that's it. Let's be honest with y'all, man. That's it. This is it.
Cam Ward.
I was going to say, guys, I'm throwing Cam. If Miami can get back.
Here's why I say
Miami can get back Cam Ward.
But here's why I say, it's between them two, because Cam Ward, even though Cam Ward is playing incredible right now at quarterback in college football right now. But there's consideration for Curtis Rourke. There's consideration for Dylan Gabriel, even though, and he's undefeated in the Big Ten on top of that too. So, that trumps everything. Let's be real about it right here. Even though it is Miami, but right now the Big Ten, there's no undefeated teams in the SEC. Not at all. There are none, and that's weird. We ain't seen that in years. But the Big Ten is the only surviving Power 5 conference with an undefeated squad. It's them. And the ACC, but do you consider them a Power 5 in college football? Not really. I want to argue, but blame Clemson and blame Florida State for that. Good job, fellas, for dropping a rock. But Dylan Gabriel is still in consideration as one of the better quarterbacks. Now, do I believe that Cam is going to win best quarterback? He's going to win the Davey O'Brien. He better. So, yes. But as of right now, whoever is running their position is Ashton Jeanty, everybody else.
He's definitely going to be there in New York, but I can't even look at the way college football is laid out anymore with these conferences. To me, you start talking about Big Ten, ACC. It's so you got teams on the West Coast that don't belong on East Coast. I mean, it's so disgustingly muddy right now. I hope the NCAA can get their stuff together and really fix this, because the way those are laid out right now makes me nauseous that they even talk about teams like that anymore.
Now, Jason, you can blame the country folk down here for doing that right there, because football, not football, football is doing that right there. Football is king in America right now. America is king in America. So that's the reason why they're not making moves like this for college basketball, because Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, and Kansas would have been in a conference together had it been for college basketball. So that's where that comes into play. But back to it right here, though. Don't avoid this question. Don't avoid this question. I want to know.
Cam Ward.
You giving it to Cam?
Yeah.
Come on,
I think if he could get Miami back to the Miami Hurricanes. I grew up in Florida back in the day. I remember Michael Irvin back then, the Canes, the old school Canes, bring them back. If he can bring Miami back to the forefront and in the championship game, it's hard not to put him up there. Look, actually, when he's doing in Idaho or where he's at.
Dude, have you seen him play? I mean,
he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He may be a first round pick. I mean, maybe. That's the thing is, okay, yeah, give him the Heisman. But, quarterbacks are sexy and they sell. He's going to be there in New York. He's going to be there in New York. He will have a seat at the table.
That's why I said Lamar in the MVP thing, if the Ravens make a run, because the quarterback position with people and the powers that be, whether it's college football or the NFL, they will always look at the quarterback position first, regardless if they should or not, and it's a fault of their own.
And I get
prejudice.
Oh, 8 minutes.
How many times could CMC should have won an MVP? Because how important was he to that Panthers team back in the day?
Oh,
I'd say he was the number one guy. So how many times should he have won?
He was important. My guys last
year. Go to basketball. How many times should LeBron have won MVP, but they didn't give it to him because they don't want to be prejudiced? It's again, it's very subjective. You get these sports writers that sit in a room and they're crotchety and old, and they have their way that they vote, and this is what they do. It happens in football, it happens in basketball, it happens in baseball. These guys, they have a blueprint of, okay, who should be number one? Who should be the guy? Okay, who's going to sell? Who's the sexy pick? Who's going to be a number one draft? We got to give him the Heisman again. Your boy's going to get a seat at the table. He's going to be in New York, but is he going to be the number one? I don't know. I hope so. It'd be awesome to see a small school get that kind of plug, but it's not going to happen. He was doing what he's doing, and he was on a top 5 or a top 10 team.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to him. Give it to him. If he's on Ohio State, if he's on Alabama, if he's on one of those teams, give him the trophy. But he's not. He's out west. He's in a smaller market.
He play on
not I-95 corridor.
He play on Friday. He play on Thursday and Friday. He don't play on Saturday.
Exactly. Nobody sees this kid play. You got to watch it on, the college sport radio broadcast. Black and white. You over here with the rabbit ears trying to get the game. You can't see him. So that's why this is not the Heisman Trophy is not a fair assessment of the best college player anymore. It really is not. It is a TV bonanza, sex sells. Let's give it to the now guy. Meanwhile, the guys that really should deserve it, that are the best players out there, they end up getting just tossed aside because they are not in those big markets.
See, we wasn't saying that in 98 when Charles Woodson won it over Peyton Manning, because everyone thought that was going to happen right there. So, there were times where they got it right. So in this
very few.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, and there's very few. And it has been very few. You're right, because, we wouldn't complain about the quarterbacks that fell on their face winning the Heisman Trophy beforehand. As of right now, that's not the case, because, Jaden Daniels is getting it right now. He won the Heisman Trophy. But And might I add right here, Aikman, I'm just here telling you, I thought he was better than Caleb Williams. I'm glad he didn't go to the Bears. I mean, I really am. I'm glad he didn't go to the Bears. I don't wish it on Caleb Williams either, but hopefully the Bears don't have to build a squad. So we're going to find out.
Whoa. They got DJ Moore.
No.
They got DeAndre
No,
Swift. They drafted
Coaching
Romeo.
staff. They
No,
don't
I'm
have
talking-
the coaching staff.
I'm talking about
Eberflus is.
beforehand. I'm talking about beforehand. I mean,
Caleb
Chicago
Williams.
was up there with the Redskins beforehand. Chicago did not build a team for God knows how long. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. I mean, really?
Another former Washington quarterback.
Sexy Rexy. Let's go.
They went to Rex
Haters.
Grossman. I mean, Jay Cutler's sitting up here mad because he's like, man, that didn't happen to me. At one point in time, Cal Orton and Jay Cutler were trading for each other, and they were the same guy. I mean, and they were the same dude. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. They were the same guy. And
And see, the quarterback talk here around college and everything else, at some point, and as the season comes to a close in college and people start to look toward the NFL draft again, the Shedeur Sanders conversation is going to happen. What quarterback needy team is going to be the one that pulls the trigger?
New York.
And
That's going to do it.
I'm not sold that it's
because
going
New
to
York
work.
will pay him.
They're going to do it.
No, I don't think he goes to New York. Know who I could see him going to? Just the person that's got the star on his chest. Because
Woo!
we talk about somebody's team that needs a sexy splash. That star.
But
They
you got
need the
60
sexy
million.
splash.
But there's
Daddy
60 million tied up. Oh, I don't want to be the one have to eat that dead cap.
They could get
for the
rid of
next
it.
few
Jerry
years.
Jones spends more than that on his hot tub. I don't know why they didn't.
No, Jerry don't spend nothing
He gonna be
anymore.
flashing out
That's
with
the problem. That's
He
the
gonna flash
problem.
out-
Except the fourth rounder on Mingo.
He gonna
Oh
be
my
flashing out
God.
watching Big D. He gonna be flashing out watch boy and Big D. I
Can
can't
we-
wait.
Can we like talk about that? Because
Let's go.
DeAndre Hopkins gets traded to the Chiefs, and Chiefs like give up like a 5th round pick. It can be a conditional 4th, depending on what happens. And so the Cowboys getting Jonathan Mingo for a 4th round pick. Just like, I mean, I like Mingo. I thought he had a lot of upside. Shan, you and I covered the Panthers with the Cat Cave. Like, I have upside for Jonathan Mingo, but like, throw a 6th out there and I don't complain. But there's just like right tackle is an issue, running back is an issue, defensive help just in general is an issue because of just injuries. Aitman with the pinkies out for royalty. I mean, Shannon, you and I have like probably watched more Jonathan Mingo than we would care to admit. Just because that means we'd have to watch a Panthers game. I'm confused a little bit. Also, Mac putting a vote for Jerry Jones MVP, most villainized person.
He does that to himself.
I mean, yeah, that's his own fault. I mean,
Bang.
Does it to himself.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you
Just
don't
throwing
want me
that back up there.
You don't want me to answer that question. You want me to answer that question less. I mean,
All right. We'll go to Aitman on that one first then.
well, I mean, here's the thing. You've been, I don't care what Jerry says. He's crazy if the Derrick Henry situation from the offseason has not been haunting him all year. If $8 million would have got you Derrick Henry, sign me up yesterday. Like, you couldn't spend $8 million, but then you're going to tie up, what, half of your cap for the next 4 to 5 years in 2 players with Micah Parsons' extension looming on top of this. So now we've already seen the situation with Zeke from this past Sunday. Like, the dude's back in Dallas and he don't care. Pretty much, plain and simple. He's back in Dallas and he doesn't care. He's not showing up to the meetings on time. He's just kind of ho-hum. I'm back in Jerry's world, so let's go about business like it's 2016 and 17 all over again. And, I mean, now, granted, you can't overcome the injury issue. That's just – part of that's bad luck. Like, the injury thing –
A lot of bad luck.
it's a lot of bad luck. There's nothing you can do about the injury thing. I mean, that's tough. I've been there. I've
Ask
seen
my 49ers about that.
Yeah, exactly. Shannon's 49ers are the exact same way. And so But Jonathan Mingo doesn't move the needle for me in this offense. I mean, not when I would have rather seen the Cowboys go for Mike Williams. You could have got Mike Williams. I
I
mean,
wouldn't have liked that.
I mean,
He's injury prone.
the
Just in
thing
general.
Dallas should have done is sell. You're closer to a top 10 pick than you are a Super Bowl or a playoff run this year, especially with Dak going on IR for the next month. Go ahead and sell off what you have that is valuable and go ahead and cash into getting a top 10 pick. Well, I mean, the offensive. Hey, Tyler Biadasz has been great, by the way. One of the best pass blocking centers in the NFL came to DC, and he is graded out phenomenal for our offensive line this
I
year.
can pass the ball.
Yeah, well, that too.
Yes. I'd be great too if I had a guy that could throw the ball. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Jason, what was your reaction to what the Cowboys gave up for Jonathan Mingo?
Little to none, because this is just Jerry Jones and his insatiable need to have the Cowboys being talked about. Please, somebody throw something at somebody to get somebody in here so we can be on ESPN. I mean, this is all this was. This does absolutely nothing for their team. I think Mingo, he may get you a few catches here and there. And who's he catching it from? Cooper Rush or Trey Lance? You traded to get Trey Lance, who was touted to be something special. And then all of a sudden, I don't even think anybody even knew he was still on the team, let alone even trying for a starting position. You put all that money in the Dak. You put all that money in the CD. Instead of going to those guys and say, hey, look, I want to build a team around you too. Do I give you guys a shit ton of money and have nobody around you? Or can we work something out where you still get paid and I could pay some other guys to work around you? That's what a real team does. But with Jerry Jones, he thinks that because they're the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, he's still stuck in 1992. I don't know what they're doing. They have no consistency. They are some of the moves that they've made just make absolutely no sense. Again, I think it's just to be television fodder. Make a move to make your football team better. Sell, do some parts. Hey, if you're worried about having to pay Micah Parsons, trade him right now. He's got some value.
No,
yes, he's hurt.
No.
But hey, what can you get for somebody like that? You're going to get a haul. Get a haul right now. That's what you need. One guy is not going to make your team. I'm sorry. I love Micah Parsons.
Here's why we would never trade Micah.
Lawrence Taylor.
Here's two reasons why we would never trade Micah. A Giants fan wanting us to trade Micah, and Aitman over here being like, 31 NFL teams would
and they give up the farm. They would trade a bunch of picks, which what the Cowboys need right now. You guys need some value. You need to build a team. Forget this season. You're not competing with the Eagles. You're not competing with the Commanders. You're not competing with the NFC North. You're not competing with the NFC West. You're not going to make a wild card.
Not even the South. Not even the South.
Hell no. I mean, even in the South, they would be trash. They're like the Saints West. I mean, they're New Orleans West. You might as well be Dallas.
To be fair, we're terrible. Not 2-7 bad. Just clarify. Clarify. We're not 2-7 bad.
It's bad enough. We're over here trashing them. It's bad enough.
Shout out Champy, by the way. Cardinals dark horse to come out of the NFC.
True.
Is that out of pocket?
No. They got a shot.
I know the way that division's beat up. It's not. I mean, they're in it.
No, he's doubling down with
the whole NFC. He's saying the whole NFC. I thought he meant like the NFC West. I thought he meant the division.
So he's even putting that above the Commanders, Aitman.
No,
I mean, we already stomped the Cardinals back earlier in the year. So
I still think the Rams win that division. No,
it's 49ers win that division.
I think so.
If they get healthy, especially. I mean,
Arizona,
Arizona
Let's
will
give
be,
credit where
they'll
credit's
be
due.
pesky down to the end. Arizona is a team that they may not take off, but they can cost you your season down the stretch of the NFL season.
Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, they've had one of the tougher strength of schedules like the only other team with a stronger strength of schedule in the NFC are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Cardinals are still sitting at 5-4 and would be a 4 seed and leading the NFC West if the season ended today.
I think they could give somebody fits, but I don't know. I can't see them. Kyler Murray, again, the knock on him, the knock on Lamar, the knock on some of these other quarterbacks is get over the hump.
Man.
We can tout them all we want during the regular season, but when it comes to the planet, Goff has done it. Heck, even Matt Stafford has gotten over the hump. All these other guys, what have you done? You get to a wall, you run into it, you fall down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall down. So until Murray starts doing something, again, until Lamar,
Purdy.
all right, that's fine, but do something in the playoffs. Don't
Mhm.
fumble your season away and then blame it on everybody else while you can't get to the promised land.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
Now I understand Aitman's closing in on his time. I promised I'd get him out a little bit early. Aitman with the trade deadline kind of passed. I don't think we're going to get many more news. If we do, we are going to break it on Out of Pocket. And not maybe like even a player getting traded, but like players getting released. The Cowboys releasing corner Andrew Booth. Rick 8-Bit here in the comments also saying, Quentin Jefferson, Mike Edwards being released. The Commanders making a huge move to acquire Marshawn Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints, the same team who fired their head coach Dennis Allen yesterday, along with several other trades. Whether it was Preston Smith to the Steelers along with Mike Williams, or the Ravens getting Tre'Davious White, the Lions getting Zadarius Smith. Aitman, if you had to grasp the entirety of the trade deadline, what are your main takeaways from this point of, did your Commanders get better enough to push them in that division? Were you disappointed in the Eagles not doing anything? What is your huge takeaways?
First of all, I'm glad the Eagles didn't do anything. It makes me happy for once. I mean, I'm glad they kind of stayed out of the way of the trade market this time, because they've been active since last season ended. It feels like nonstop in the trade market. I think we will split with the Eagles. We still got to play them twice. I think we split. We played Dallas twice as well, so I think we end up splitting with Philadelphia, and then it'll come down. I feel good about the Cowboys this year, especially with Dak gonna miss the first matchup when we play in a couple weeks, since he's gonna be on our division. Games are so close in the NFC East. It doesn't matter. They're always close, hard fought games. That no matter, throw your records out the window. I do want to say this. I got a few more minutes here. The one team that I thought that should have made a more aggressive move that didn't. Now maybe it's because they feel like they don't have to because of their division, but they needed to, I think, defensively, is the Atlanta Falcons. If you want to make some noise in the playoffs in the NFC, you needed to add to that defense. This is a defense that it was bottom of the barrel in pass rush rate, although they got to Dak quite a bit Sunday. But they needed to make a move defensively, I felt, to take them over the top. The offense is there. Number one, if they'll use Bijan Robinson more, I've never seen a franchise neglect a premier running back more than the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, because I've had him in fantasy and it drives me freaking insane on a week-to-week basis that you get inside the 20-yard line and then here comes Tyler Algier just hopping off the sideline and there goes Bijan back the other way. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The guy's a dual threat running back, but they've got the offensive weapons in place. They needed to add to that defense. I think Atlanta's kind of staying pat, not maybe getting in on Josh Uche from the Patriots last week when Kansas City got in on that. Making a move to help yourself in any way defensively. Obviously, Marshawn Lattimore was not in play because that kind of a caliber player is not going to go in the division. You're just not going to do it, no matter how desperate you are. Also, too, we've been poking and prodding about trade compensation. We did get a third-round pick for Jahan Dotson, and I think he has like 2 or 3 catches for the Eagles this year. So if it makes you feel any better, I mean, Michael, that it just adds to your Mingo comparison there. But nonetheless, the Falcons. The Falcons are the team for me that I'm puzzled with the most. If you're truly trying to contend with Kirk Cousins and all this money you've given him to make a push for the Super Bowl, why did you not add to anything defensively? That's going to be the one team I think could end up regretting staying pat at the deadline and not making a move.
Wow. Shannon is 8-man out of pocket for that Atlanta should have done some moves after their win over the Cowboys this weekend.
Oh, he's definitely correct because Atlanta's got a formula. They're up there with Tampa. Tampa and Atlanta are going to be fighting each other for the NFC South. And that's just, there you have it, because, the Panthers and the Saints are just getting scraps. So, yeah, I mean, that's really important because Atlanta's defense is what's been a heel for them because they throw the ball incredibly. Like, there's times where Coach Haynes will go out there and throw all over the place. He threw 500 yards and 4 touchdowns on Matty Ice night and overshadowed Matt Ryan on his own night. Dude go out there and throw the ball like crazy. Kirk Cousins, you don't know what you're going to get out of Kirk Cousins sometimes. You might get 500 yards and 4 touchdowns and a 50 burger. And the next week, he's going to go throw 3 picks, 1 touchdown, and 147 yards, and maybe -3 yards rushing. So that's what you're going to get out of that dude. There's no middle ground. There's no in between. It's either you get really, really good or really, really bad. And when he's good, he's good. He's up there when he's got it because he's got the receiving core and he's got the running back. And you're absolutely right about that with the whole Bijan Robinson thing. You're right because they've been killing that kid, man, because that kid can ball. And you're going to bring him here just for the guy to get you past the 50, then to the red zone, and you bring in another running back that's not going to get you the productivity, and then you got to throw the ball to the edges on 3rd and goal? I don't think so. It's not a good idea. But, yeah, I got to go with Aikman on that one. Very smart. Good move.
Yeah, Max saying Lions barn injury or NFC fave, so it may not matter what the
they mad this year. They mad. They're mad after last year, man. With Brandon Ayuk and that miracle catch, they want to kill everybody, and they are.
Yeah, Jason, what did you think? It was 8-man out of pocket for the Falcons needing to make moves.
No, he's right on point. And again, Atlanta is surprising too because you look at some of the past Atlanta teams; they were predicated on defense. The Dirty Birds. I mean, they were. That's what got them to the Super Bowl. A little while ago, back in the day, they had a good defense, and they have no defense right now because they can drop 30 points on you, but when you give up 45, you're going to lose. So yes, very surprised that they haven't done anything to shore up that offense or that defense, excuse me. And what they're doing with Bijan, and they did that last year too. And I found like maybe it's the coaching staff, and they got the new coaching staff now. Maybe they're going to actually use Bijan like a number 1 running back, like he should, and they don't. I don't know if it's just they're just chicken. They don't want to get him hurt. I don't know what their deal is in not riding him because, knock on wood, he seems very healthy. It's only his 2nd year, so he doesn't have dead legs yet. I know running back moratorium is 3 to 5 years. So if you got him for that long, ride the horse. I mean, I mean that's what it is. So I don't know what they're doing in Atlanta. They do have a chance to at least make some noise and probably give some teams out there some fits in the NFC if they play like they have been playing. But yeah, if you don't have defense, you're not going to go anywhere because I don't think they can outscore. I don't think they can outscore the Lions. I mean, I don't think anybody is. The Lions just shored up their defense. Again, barring injury, they want to drop a 50 on everybody every Sunday. They just Dan Campbell again. I can't play football. I'm 4'2", whatever. I ain't going out there, but I would put pads on right now and go out there and get laid out and play for Dan Campbell. That's the kind of motivation he has, and he's got that team ridiculously playing on all cylinders, but definitely not out of pocket with Atlanta. I am shocked they didn't do any moves as well as that offense is playing. So I don't know.
But it
Very
goes
curious.
but it goes back to what we're talking about with the quarterback position. They paid Kirk Cousins all that money, and they gonna get their money. So they're gonna look. You throwing the ball 50 times a game because we paid you, and you got Michael Penix Jr. breathing down your neck right now, who they ain't had to activate yet. Who they have not had to activate, but they're pretty much saying we'll do it. We'll do it. They got him for ransom. I think they've got Kirk Cousins for ransom. They're like, look, we'll put him in there. We'll do it. We'll do it. So that's what I think they're doing.
Every guaranteed quarterback contract out there owes Kirk Cousins a percentage of it because he started this thing. I want Kirk Cousins' agent because that dude is. Can you just come over here? I mean, help me out. Boom Broadcasting. We can use you. You obviously know what you're doing because if you could get guaranteed money from Kirk Cousins. There has been a lot of quarterback thieves stealing contracts. Jay Cutler's one of the biggest ones. I think $10 million, I think, was it from the Dolphins.
Yes.
But Kirk Cousins and the way he gets paid has changed the game. And it's weird to say that because you have like Michael Jordan changed the game, changed the world of sports. There's got a lot of guys out there that changed the game. But for someone to change the money game and it's Kirk Cousins, that still blows my mind every time. Blows my mind every time.
Officially in the record books, ain't that right, Aitman?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I could have Kirk Cousins' agent for anything, the world would be a better place for all of us if we could figure out what kind of magic potion that guy's got to work with to get these deals done. And I'll say this. The way that Bijan Robinson has been utilized in Atlanta, don't be surprised if at the end of this rookie contract he says, I want to go somewhere that's going to use me. And this is going to be a kid that I'm not saying he's going to be what Derrick Henry is, but he can have the longevity that Derrick Henry has because he's not been used and beaten up like a dead horse for that 3 to 5 year running back period. He's going to have some pretty fresh legs for the way that they have been spotty at using him in Atlanta if they continue this trend up for the next couple years in his rookie contract. And if he hits the free agent market, somebody's going to pay him and pay him handsomely to come be the weapon that he is on offense if Atlanta drops the ball, because eventually the cap issue is going to come into play for the Falcons with this Kirk Cousins deal.
It'll be Saquon. It'll be Saquon Barkley in a minute.
Yep.
And watching Bijan too, like watching Bijan this past weekend, like so shifty, so easy, running, catching the ball out of the backfield. I knew he wasn't slipping to Dallas when he was coming to the draft, but it was like there was like a slim, shimmer of hope. Like, it would be nice. Please. But now let me just trade for him on my Madden team and make it work.
Hey, he won't stay in Atlanta. They ain't gonna do him. If they ain't gonna use him like they are, he won't be in Atlanta long. You never know. He might hold out next year, which I hope he doesn't, because that would be bad from him. He has all the right in the world to do it now. On the other hand, he does, because we've all said, but yet and still, it wouldn't be good for him if he just decided, hey, I ain't gonna play next year. Especially
better not, because that does not bode well with anybody here. Look at all the guys that have held out. Look at where they are now. You look at Brandon Ayuk.
Hurt.
Again, holding out. So if Bijan, if you're going to do something, go to the team this offseason and say, hey, look, either make me a deal or I'm just playing out my contract, or trade me away and get something for me. Because these are the kind of conversations you have to have right off the bat, because this holding out thing has not worked out. I mean, look at Le'Veon Bell. It just destroyed his career, playing chicken with these teams. The NFL does not care. They will find another guy. NFL stands not for long, especially at the running back position. Don't play those games. You can't play those games no more. I'm holding out. You can't do it no more because it just does not end well.
I just want to know who has the voodoo doll on Deshaun Watson. I mean, I just want to know who has that voodoo doll right now because
that's called karma, man. That's called karma. Hey, when you got skeletons and you do things, my grandmother always said, God bless her, Miss Lucci, if you do good, it comes out good. And when you don't, you get the back end of the stick. And, the Cleveland Browns are paying for that. Deshaun Watson is paying for that. I go back to Michael Vick. Michael Vick made a lot of terrible mistakes, but he stood up, owned it, put it out there, paid his due, and admitted it, and went out there and tried to be a better man because of it, and then kind of finished his career with some honor. Deshaun has not done any of that. He has not owned this. He has not gotten out in front of it. He has not tried to be, contritious at all. You're paying for it now. And again, I don't wish injury on anybody, but karma's a bitch, man. Excuse my language.
It is. I mean, you're absolutely right. That's some grandma stuff right there, though. But that's some grandma talk right there, man. You got my grandma coming out right there. So you reap what you sow, baby. So, yes.
Aitman, we're closing in. We'll talk a little more of the trade deadline in the next 10, 15 minutes. Do you want to stay on the rest? Do you need to roll out?
Yeah, I got to get ready and head out. But guys, it was great talking with you, going back and forth. Great discussion as always. Appreciate it, and we'll see how the rest of the NFL season plays out over here the last half of the year. Now that everything's pretty much locked in for the final run to the playoffs.
Yep. Where can they find more of your stuff that you're doing here?
You can find my Blue Ridge Football Podcast anywhere you find podcasts. I'm actually recording this week's episode tonight, so it'll be up probably sometime tomorrow evening. I'll have it out. You can find it on any platform to find a podcast, Blue Ridge Football Podcast. And then obviously, as you can see underneath my name here at the bottom of my box, at Radio Guy AC on Twitter as well. So any of those ways that you can reach out. And as always, hopefully here soon, a couple weeks, we'll be back on here talking NFC East and all things NFL football.
Sweet, man. Hey, Aitman, appreciate you guys. Go follow him. He does a lot of good stuff, especially if you're local to the Wilkes area. He does really good stuff. And if not, and you're not around, just go ahead and support him anyways. He's a good friend of mine. Thank you so much for hopping in, talk some NFL trade deadline stuff. Wish your Commanders hadn't made those moves that they did, but go enjoy it against anyone but my Cowboys. But Aitman, appreciate you. We'll get you back on here soon, guys. This is your crew until I break out my top quarter rankings. Yeah, it's still Tuesday, so don't worry, we're still doing it. But wanted to really capture the trade deadline here for the next few minutes. Guys, this was crazy. If you guys have just been joining us, usually Out of Pocket is 5:30 to 6:30, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And what we decided today was hey, trade deadline happens at 4. Let's get on at 3:30 and let's start doing the trade deadline. My voice was struggling, as we mentioned. And then the party started coming. Like, shout out to these guys and Aitman as well, who was all of a sudden, let's just have a party. Let's have a full good conversation. Like, you're at the lunch table, you're at the dinner table with your good friends talking sports. This has been like a less like structured show for that reason, because we didn't really have a structure going into today. We didn't know what deals were going to happen. We didn't know who was getting moved. So it's been a lot of chaos, and we appreciate you guys. If this is your first time joining us, usually it's a lot more structured. We do football picks heading into the weekend. We do top quarter rankings Tuesday afternoons, which I'll do at the end of today's show, so you guys won't miss out on that. Green Bay Packers were my number 2 team last week, and they lost. So, who knows if I'll keep them up there just to be nice, but might not. But guys, if you've missed some of the deadline moves, the Cincinnati Bengals acquired Khalil Herbert from Chicago. The Arizona Cardinals acquired Baron Browning last night from the Denver Broncos. Cowboys acquired Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. Shannon and I have covered a lot of Jonathan Mingo early in his career, so I guess I'll get to continue doing that as a Cowboy. Commanders, Aitman being a Commanders fan, acquired Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints, who had just fired Dennis Allen yesterday as their head coach. That episode's still available on demand through Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel. We covered the Saints firing Dennis Allen yesterday. Jason and I did. The Detroit Lions acquired Zadarius Smith after Aiden Hutchinson got hurt a few weeks ago. Zadarius coming from Cleveland, so everybody's leaving Cleveland, whether it's Amari Cooper, Zadarius Smith. The Ravens acquiring Tre'Davious White from the LA Rams. That is huge, especially with the Rams still trying to fight for the NFC West, but the Ravens doing good, but they're having to compete with the Steelers, who not only acquired Mike Williams from the Jets, who have now gotten a little receiver heavy, even with Allen Lazard going to IR. The Jets now have Devontae Adams after that trade a couple weeks ago. The Jets have Garrett Wilson. And so the Steelers were able to get Mike Williams off their hands. In addition, acquiring Preston Smith, who has the most amount of games played by defensive linemen since he came into the league. And Green Bay also doing pretty well, but, decided to send off help and give them to Pittsburgh to let more younger guys into the rotation. So those are the moves that were made today, in addition to something that broke while we were live. Rick 8-Bit saying that Shane Smith's 49ers acquired Khalil Davis, defensive tackle from Houston, another contender, trading a big piece of theirs away. Guys, this has been a crazy trade deadline. Trevor here, by the way, from the Two Pointers podcast, basketball just started, saying Drake Lee May is a dog.
And where did he go? And where did he go to school? Where did he go to school?
He went to UNC, but you know what? I remember, and this was literally just a couple days ago, so my memory might be off, but Drake May, stepped back, threw a bomb to the Tennessee Titans and lost to the Titans. So I don't know. Maybe maybe you want to say Drake May's not a dog. Maybe he's a little chihuahua, afraid of winning. Maybe he's Mitch Trubisky 2.0, the only quarterback taken ahead of Patrick Mahomes way back when.
Now, let's talk about a certain Duke quarterback that's doing wonderful in the NFL right now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, what's his name? Daniel Jones? Huh?
He plays for a Giants. He plays for a Giants.
You got one quarterback in the league, and what did he do? Mess your school up. He might have took Eli Manning's job, but Eli Manning was long in the tooth. Remember that. Yeah.
The only reason why Daniel Jones got picked is because he did a sleepover with Eli Manning, like on his little football camp or something. So that is why he got picked to be a New York Giant. And he wasn't my pick, but we got to ride with him until we die, and hopefully he's dead at the end of the season, because we definitely need some help at the quarterback position, which I feel bad. I think Daniel Jones has flashes. The guy's got wheels.
He played.
He can play. It's just I don't know. I think it's beyond development thing now. Some guys, some guys can play in the NFL. Some guys can't. It's the way it is. I mean, just because you can play in college and you're or a high school All-American, All-American whatever, doesn't mean it's going to translate into the NFL. And the NFL is the NFL graveyard of quarterbacks of potential is much larger than the Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, you ride or die with your team. You hope, they get the one that gets you to the promise. And it just goes to show how much of an amazing quarterback Eli Manning was in New York to play in that limelight with literally no real Pro Bowl wide receiver. I think he had it one time. I think that was Odell Beckham the one year. I think he got elected to the Pro Bowl. Other than that, he really hasn't had anybody. Never really had a huge run game. Brandon Jacobs, he had some guys. So Eli Manning, first ballot Hall of Famer. He will be in the Hall of Fame this year. That just goes to show how hard it is to play in the bright lights in the big city. So Daniel Jones just shows how much of a stud Eli Manning really was.
And he beat Tom Brady twice. So in the Super Bowl.
Two of the greatest football games I've ever watched. Whew.
Hey, just so you know, Tom Brady's kryptonite was the NFC East. You had the Giants twice in the Super Bowl. You had the Eagles once in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's the only thing I like.
And
puts a notch and he lost to the Eagles.
And just like Brock Lesnar ended the streak of The Undertaker, just like Shawn Michaels ended the career the first time of Ric Flair, just like Baron Corbin, who just got released by WWE, ended the career of the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. The Dallas Cowboys ended the career of Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Boo! 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 Boo!
I guess if you got to hang your hat on something, you might as well just start grabbing. I know you guys are hurting right now. I know it's a little doom and gloom. Jerry Jones crying in the hot tub right now. So you guys are just grasping at whatever you can. Go all the way back, dude. Come on, bring Emmitt Smith. Let's get the ghosts. Bring the ghosts back. Aikman. Go all the way back. I think Moose Johnson's back there somewhere too. Why don't you go find him a little bit? Get the hat out. Whatever you need to do. To get them Cowboys back up and feeling good about yourselves.
You imagine Jerry Jones in a dang hot tub like Daggum Scarface? Who built this? Me. That's who.
Well, unfortunately, he does that, and that's his curse. Is when you have that kind of attitude, where you are the judge, jury, and executioner of your football team, you have to live and die with the decisions you make. He did not put and has not put the right people around him over the past 15, 20 years. And anytime somebody got close and they started getting a little bit of power, he took it away and got rid of them. So, Jerry Jones, this is your own making, period.
Honestly.
And you can see what other teams are doing. Again, the 49ers are a mirror of you guys. They had all those injuries.
Shannon.
And look at what they're doing to overcome those injuries. Look how they're playing. Look at the depth of their team. Look at what Lynch has done building that team. I'm going to give you your flowers here, man. I'm going to give you your flowers for them 49ers. The Cowboys could have been along the lines of the same way, but they didn't. They did some really weird moves and lack thereof. And look, it's where it's got them. So injuries happen in the NFL. Period. It's going to happen. I don't care what team you got. I don't care who you are. Patrick Mahomes limped off the field last night. Hopefully we'll see what happens with his Gumby ankles there. But it's all about your team. It's all about the structure. Who do you have on the practice squad? How do you develop your guys that are on the bench? There is a lot more than just the superstars on the superstars on the field. And you can see that by how some of these other teams are coping with the injuries and are playing. So, again, Lions lose their stud defensive player of the year, and they're still killing everybody. So, I mean, there should be no excuses in the NFL. Losing this, the Dolphins playing like trash right now. Yes, I understand you lost Tua, but develop. Have a bench. Get your guys prepared, rally around that kind of stuff, and play football. If you don't do it, you're pretty much nothing.
You know what does that right there? The draft. These guys trying to dang build off of trade deadlines and free agency right here. Now, trade deadline, I get it. Trading is for the right now, the present, because you have that time where you have to add on pieces as you go.
It's a Band-Aid.
But for the long haul, because I look at the Panthers, looking at the Panthers. Now, the Panthers have 11 draft picks. this year coming into the draft right now. I want to see if they blow 7 of them. I just want to see. But don't trade them. Do not trade them. I'm serious. Dan Morgan got to go and say, don't trade them. You got to go around and look at everybody like, don't do it. If we trade a draft pick, I'm done. He needs to go and look at these guys. Don't trade them. Don't trade them. Don't trade them. Don't do it. For real. Because this is what happens when the GM doesn't have – the GM is supposed to build the team. The way it is, the owner is supposed to spend the money. The GM is supposed to go look at the owner and say, listen, this is what we got. We want this squad. This is it here. Now, what I want you to do is spend the money. That's it. Now, if you don't want me here, tell me, and I'll go. But if you're going to tell me, hey, look, we want to do this with this team. No. And the owner's like, no. Because Jerry Jones like Vince McMahon. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
No, wait.
No, you're spoiling.
Whoa,
You're spoiling a fan's first article I'm about to write.
Listen to me. Time out, Mike. Time out. No, not that man. Not that Vince McMahon. I'm talking about Vince McMahon when I was younger. Vince McMahon knew what he was doing with his squad. He knows. At the end of the day, you knew who ran it. It was him. You knew. It wasn't like WCW because no one knew who ran WCW. 1 week is Eric Bischoff. 1 week is Hulk Hogan. 1 week is Ric Flair. 1 week is me. But other than that, we don't know. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know. But at the end of the day, that's what it's like. You know who ran the team. You know who, at the end of the day, signed the checks and did everything on the business end. That's what the Cowboys got to do. That's what they have to do. Now, mind you, before I go and throw stones at one team, I'll throw stones at mine. A 2012 team that went to the Super Bowl, where they Colin Kaepernick at quarterback, derailed in a matter of a year. Patrick Willis retiring, Navarro Bowman going. That whole squad, that whole defense left. Everybody was gone. And then they got rid of Jim Harbaugh. They got rid of him. They fired him. Now, mind you, he might have been running tapes in San Francisco. We don't know. He might have been doing what he was doing in Michigan in San Francisco. I hope not. But with that being said, when he left, everybody was gone. They were like, why are you doing this? Why did you do this? And the whole squad just fell apart because the York family decided they were going to run the team, put a dodo at coach, and interchangeable coaches out of nowhere blew the squad up. Then John Lynch came. One day. One blessed day, John Lynch came. And he built it. He built it, man.
I was looking for my tissues. Hold on. Where my tissues at?
I was going to cry, man.
Don't cry, man.
2-14 in 1 year. And my unit manager at work, Chris, watching this, Beaks, if you're watching this, he said, who's going to get the first pick? You were the Cleveland Browns. We built, and the Browns didn't. They believed. It made me feel good, man. It can happen to you. If it can happen to my squad, it can happen to you guys. It can happen. You can go to the Super Bowl and blow it too. You can. You can do it. If you build it, you can do it. Yes.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Well, that was
That's good stuff.
that was Shannon's emotional speech to try to build through the draft.
Got me in tears. I like it.
He was crying and now he's laughing and now he's probably going to need to get checked out here soon. We'll send help his way. Guys, this has been that kind of episode for Outta Pocket. If this is your first time joining us, and you haven't subscribed, I would say subscribe. Not only to help content creators out, but it's free. It's a free press of a button. It just shows that you are enjoying this and it helps support us. And if you already are subscribed, we have great podcasts. Shan does quick hits on Tuesdays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Jason does Three from Deep on Mondays, an NBA podcast, Sideline Savants, Wednesdays at 12. They have tomorrow off, but they'll be back next week giving you all your fantasy football advice. And so there's a lot of content creation. There's a lot of sports content, and there's more than just sports. We have a TV review podcast on here that drops Thursdays at 10 a.m. So there's content every day of the week for you and your liking. And so if you guys are enjoying this and you're already subscribed, just send the link to somebody who think would enjoy this NFL trade deadline recap, because this will still be available on demand through Boom Broadcast's YouTube channel. Guys, I appreciate y'all. Before I let you go, though, I want a definitive winner and I want a definitive loser. Not of the draft in April, Shannon, but of the trade deadline we just crossed over as we were on air live at a special time of 3:30. We're usually live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We did a special for the NFL trade deadline, and we're coming to the end of our special. I'm going to get a winner and loser from these guys, and then we'll do our top quarter rankings. Jason, when it comes to your winner and loser of the trade deadline, who are you giving this to you?
Winner's definitely the Lions. Again, you think that they couldn't get any stronger. Hold my beer. They get Smith from Cleveland. That just shores up that defense. And again, Campbell's going to get a Pro Bowl player again, just to make them even more dangerous. My loser, there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of teams that didn't make any moves. And with Eggman on earlier, he mentioned it. The Atlanta Falcons not making any moves was interesting. So they're definitely down in the dumps there, not doing anything. And then the Eagles and some of the other teams that are in contention not making any moves was possibly my losers. I don't think there was anybody making a trade. It was just to kind of get maybe fill a hole that they need. But the Lions definitely won this thing, no doubt.
Shannon, what's your trade deadline winner and loser?
A winner got to be the Washington Commanders. I got to give it to Aikman going and getting a lockdown corner, which is what they needed for their defense. It looks like offensively they're going to be fine. They have a franchise quarterback. He's making plays out there, and the man is single-handedly playing some good football. So Washington's like, we have our future, so let's go ahead and pick up. Now that they see that they're a contender, they went out there and made contender moves, because that's what the trade deadline is for. With teams like Kansas City and Baltimore making moves like that, because they're contending, they're picking up, and they're getting ready to retool for the playoffs. And now Washington has joined the club. Welcome to the party. Go ahead. Don't put your feet on the table and nothing like that. Just make sure you respect the house. I know it's your first time. I know you're new at this, but respect the house. And Washington looks like they're doing that, because they went out there and made a good trade for a lockdown corner that's going to help them out. My loser, now on the other hand, which you might look at me and scratch my head a little bit, or scratch your heads a little bit when I say this, but I think Miami lost. I didn't see Miami go out there and make any moves, see if they were going to do something at the quarterback spot. Tua may be playing and Tua may be fine. He might tell you he's fine, but are you really? So that's another thing. Also on the defense as well, too. There's been some things that they've not done defensively as well, too. I think they might maybe add somebody on the line, maybe another linebacker or so, or maybe on the defensive line there. So, they've got pass rushers that they've got guys that love to pass the ball. They've got Josh Allen who loves to pass the ball. And they have, even surprisingly, Aaron Rodgers like to pass the ball. And he's got guys throw the ball too. So you got to get somebody in his space. You want to contend for the AFC East, go for the defense. So Miami was my loser.
Now, I agree with a lot of you. I agree with both of your winners. I could easily go Detroit. I could easily go Washington. But I'm going to go a different route in terms of who won the NFL trade deadline. But before I give that one, I'm going to go with who lost the NFL trade deadline. And to me, the Green Bay Packers lost the NFL trade deadline. They didn't make any moves to improve. You look at that NFC North, it's not going to be an easy fought division. Green Bay 6-3 right now, but they're third in the division, just a couple games ahead of Chicago. They're behind the 6-2 Vikings. They're definitely behind the 7-1 Detroit Lions. And to me, Green Bay needed to do a move. And instead of getting help, they just sent off their most reliable defensive lineman in Preston Smith to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it just made me scratch my head. In addition to another contender sending somebody to another team. And I would go ahead and say that the winner of the trade deadline are the San Francisco 49ers. Now, you might be surprised why I'm saying that, but the San Francisco 49ers, while we were live, Rick 8-Bit shared this with us. Khalil Davis of the Houston Texans went there. First of all, that is going to help tremendously where the Rams can only run the ball. For putting pressure on Kyler Murray, Seattle can really only run the ball if they're doing anything offensively. And you put Khalil Davis on the same defensive line as Nick Bosa, that's great. But even if the 49ers didn't do any moves, they still won the trade deadline. If Christian McCaffrey can come back, I mean, that's winning another trade deadline with Christian McCaffrey. So the 49ers are getting reinforcements. They are getting help. And the 49ers are 4-4. They're a half a game back of the Arizona Cardinals. They're tied with the Rams. Seattle, I just don't trust them after they got off to a hot 3-0 start. They've dropped 5 of their last 6. San Francisco, the only NFC West team with a positive point differential in their games. Help is on the way, and they realized that, so they went out and made the move of Khalil Davis. I know Shannon's happy about that. Guys, I'll sign these guys off one by one. We'll do our top quarter rankings then. I'm going to let Shane go off first because he's got a pretty big head now that, quick hits dropped earlier today. You guys can go watch it. WNBA, WWE, some football in there as well, available on demand through Boom Broadcast. And Shan, is there any parting words you would like to give for our people before they watch Quick Hits?
Just want to say I appreciate you having me on. I thank you for that. But yes, make sure that you guys watch Quick Hits. I'll be back on Friday. Maybe a shorter show. I had a little bit of a longer show today, but I think I'm going to have a shorter show for Friday, because Fridays are for football. So I'll be doing my picks for college. I'll be doing my picks for the NFL. I'll also be covering headlines. And we're going to revisit this whole Heisman Trophy thing because I think we got to talk about this right here. We have to revisit Heisman, this Heisman thing right here because, guys, we're getting into that thick of the season where the Heisman Trophy and the awards are going to be talked about. And I gotta talk about that, because y'all got me on that one. I really liked it. Mike, sorry if I asked too many questions on your show, but I didn't want to take your show like that. That's why I asked. But yes, make sure that you watch the show. Remember, I'm Shannon Smith, and this is Quick Hits.
That is Shannon Smith. That's Quick Hits. Appreciate you and all the questions you added to the table today. And Jason, thank you. By the way, Jason was not supposed to be on the show until like now. And he stepped in. I was struggling. I was about to die over those first 20 minutes. And it's hard doing a solo podcast. But he is doing a solo pod right now, 3 from Deep. That dropped yesterday on Outta Pocket. If people haven't watched it yet, what can they expect?
Again, just going over everything NBA right now. Lots, only second week into the season here, and we've already got a lot of drama. You got the drama going on in Milwaukee with Giannis and all these trade rumors swirling. Cavs starting off hot. We thought the Celtics were not really going to have anybody challenging them in the East, but right now Cavs 8-0. Doing some big things in the Eastern Conference right now. The Joel Embiid drama going on with him, with getting back on the court and what happened off the court. So, definitely lots to unpack, and I appreciate that. Again, 3 from Deep on Mondays. I'll also be doing some 2-minute warnings. I'm going to be dropping my first one here after I get off our show here. I'm going to start doing some stuff right on our social media. So Facebook, Instagram. You can check me out. I'm going to do the 2-minute warning, just a little 2-minute snapshot of what's going on in the NBA, because there's so much going on in the NBA every day. I'm just so excited about it. I can't wait a week. So I'm doing a little 2-minute, just drop a little bomb here. But yes, you can check me out. You can check me out on our fantasy football podcast, Sideline Savants, with my commissioner. He's had some things to take care of. So we'll be back next week, getting ready for the playoffs, because fantasy football is heating up. And some of these trades today, I don't think we're going to make a fantasy impact. There may be a couple of guys that you may want to pick up if your teams are hurting a little bit. But I appreciate the love. I'm always here for you, Michael. I love being on Out of Pocket. Boom Broadcasting, guys, you got to check us out. There's a lot of great content out there. Podcast Smitty doing his thing. Chris DeLuca doing his thing. Aaron doing his thing. I mean, in the Gridiron Address. Just so much more to talk about. So we can go on and on. But I appreciate being on. And again, check 3 from Deep Out, my NBA podcast. Shoot me some questions, guys. I love talking about this stuff. So thank you so much.
Hey, appreciate you, Jason. Go watch 3 from Deep that dropped yesterday. He's been on Out Pocket back-to-back days. Maybe he'll get frequent flyer miles. If you guys are joining us for the first time, this is what we do. Like, we do these live streams so you guys can engage with us in the comments, and the conversation is pretty free-flowing. But the show is not over yet. You want to know why? Because I'm going to move over here real quick. I'm going to show you the top quarter rankings. Yes, we will continue to have the trade updates from the NFL trade deadline scrolling at the bottom, which is what we covered this entire episode. It'll be available on demand through Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel that you guys can go back and watch. But these are the top quarter rankings we drop every Tuesday after the Monday Night Football game concludes. And this is our top 8 NFL teams, and I'm going to start with a team that I thought did lose this trade deadline. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers, they lost this week to the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to hurt them so much for that. They're still 6-3, but you look at the teams they've lost to: Philadelphia week 1, Minnesota week 4, and then Detroit this past week. They are beating all the AFC teams. They're beating the NFC West teams, but they're not beating the teams that matter. Like, you need to beat the Eagles, but you didn't. It's okay. The Vikings were hot and you lost to them. The Lions are hot and you lost to them. But you need to go into the Chicago game after your bye and really hit the hammer home, because after that, you got the 49ers, you got the Dolphins on a short week. You got the Detroit Lions again. And it just, you need to start piling up wins. But I would say they still rank pretty well when it comes offensively or defensively. Come in at number 7. I have the Houston Texans. Now you're like, okay, well, the Packers lose this past week. The Houston Texans lose this past week. Green Bay was all the way up at number 2. I'm not going to drop them all the way out of my top quarter rankings. And Houston, believe it or not, Houston, if we look back at my top quarter rankings from last week, the Texans were at 7. I'm keeping the Texans at 7 this week, even after they lost to the Jets. Let's just go ahead and tell you, this is still a good Houston team. They are going through some injuries right now. Stephon Diggs out for the season. Nico Collins been on IR. But they're the second best defense in terms of yards allowed right now. That will get them far. When you also have an offense powered by CJ Stroud, powered by Joe Mixon, I mean, the Houston Texans are a force to be reckoned with. They are still a top 8 NFL team, and I would not be surprised that they continue to stay in these top quarter rankings. Come in at number 6, I have the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings. If you had to look at that entire division, you have the Packers and you have the Bears. The Vikings decided to show up on Sunday Night Football for a team starting Joe Flacco. You would think that the Colts would have a little bit more maturity and a little bit star power. Michael Pittman struggled. Adonai Mitchell struggled. Alec Pierce, okay. Jonathan Taylor struggled. Joe Flacco didn't even have a great game. And I could pin this on Indianapolis, but I'll say Minnesota is good. I mean, Kevin O'Connell has really surprised me. Stephon Gilmore. Here's what I don't understand. You see so many players, especially we just got done with the trade deadline. You see a lot of players on the move. And you're like, why is this guy jumping from team to team to team like Amari Cooper? But Stephon Gilmore, he's literally the best corner. No matter what team he goes to, no matter what corner he's playing with, he's always the best corner. Why is this guy just jumping from team to team? Bills, Colts, Panthers, Patriots, Cowboys, Vikings. I feel like I missed a team or two in there. Gilmore is making a difference in Minnesota, helping relieve everything. Jordan Addison, hey, thanks for finally showing up. 5 catches, 42 yards, a touchdown. Go along with Josh Oliver. Go along with Justin Jefferson's big game. 7 catches, 137 yards. Jefferson even completed a 22-yard pass. Did it all. But yeah, Minnesota, they're in a tough division. They're 6-2, but they're going to be a really good wild card team if they keep this up. Buffalo won't be a wild card team. They are winning that division outright, especially after a 30-27 victory over a desperate Miami Dolphins team. Josh Allen continues to take care of the ball. He did throw an interception this past week. Totally fine. James Cook didn't even have his best game. I mean, and you're just trying to figure out, like, well, if James Cook couldn't run the ball, if Josh Allen turned the ball over, why Buffalo win? There was no recipe to it. They even look at Miami. Tua, who played 25 of 28, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, 2 running backs who averaged over 5 yards a carry. Like, Buffalo is just finding ways to win, and they're being unapologetic about it. Like, there's another team that I rank ahead of them that I think is a bigger threat to Kansas City in the playoffs. But Buffalo, if Josh Allen keeps these interceptions down, they are dangerous. Just like the Washington Commanders, Aitman's favorite team, is dangerous right now. They beat the Giants this past week, 27-22 on the road, holding the Giants off from a late fourth quarter comeback. This was interesting. This is a special Washington team that just got better at the trade deadline. You see, scrolling on the bottom, they acquired Marshawn Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints. Jane Daniels, Aitman believes he's a MVP candidate. No, he won't win MVP. We don't see rookies win MVP no matter how good they are. CJ Stroud being one of them. Dak Prescott in his rookie year being one of them. But he will probably win Offensive Rookie of the Year because there's no reason the Commanders should be this good right now. The Washington Commanders, they are just playing whoever's in front of them. They didn't go out and get Scary Terry help. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns this past week. But they have Noah Brown, Austin Eckler helping turn back the clock a little bit. Zach Ertz didn't even have a big game, but he's available for them. But there is so much energy behind Jane Daniels. The additions they've made to people who were either not worth the money, like Tyler Biadasz, or people who are washed, like Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, Frankie Louvu. All these guys are putting in their best effort for Washington. And they're about to run away with this division. Speaking of running away, this team runs away from defense is the Baltimore Ravens. This is the team that poses the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens lost last week against the Browns. Everybody's like shocked, whatever. Like, what happened? It's a division game. But what did they do? They came back against a Broncos team who's performed really well with rookie quarterback Bo Nix, Sean Payton, a formidable defense, and trounced them. Like, absolutely trounced them. The Ravens are a team who's faced adversity this year, going down 0-2 and then playing the Cowboys, where the Cowboys are historically a good team at home before this point. The Ravens lose a game to the Browns and then respond with a 41-10 victory over the Broncos. You can't stop Lamar. You can't stop Derrick Henry. And in a game where Lamar only had 4 rushing yards, he had 3 passing touchdowns, 3 incompletions. It didn't matter. The Baltimore Ravens are good. And if you're hoping the Chiefs don't three-peat, this is the team that you need to hope on. Or you could take your chances and let the Detroit Lions play them in the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions come in at number 2 on my top core rankings. A team that I've, put at number 3 last week. I put the Packers at 2. Packers were doing well with Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love's been hurt. No names at receiver, playing great defense. And Detroit went on the road and said, hey, we're here. And we're not going anywhere. David Montgomery, 73 yards on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs, 65 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Jared Goff, only 145 yards passing, but high percentages in terms of completions. 18 of 22 this past week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. You just never know who's going to step up. Jack Campbell is a dude. Him and Alex Anzalone, they are dudes at linebacker, and you need that linebacker duo to have success in this league. Detroit, probably one of the highest teams in the NFL. Not going to lie. When you score 42, 47, 31, 52 in your last few games, you're like, okay, you're riding high on this offense. What about a team that is good defensively? And the Lions put up 24 points on the road against a division rival and still came out with a victory. They'll have a tough matchup this upcoming week in Houston, who is staying at number 7 in my top core rankings. And number 1 should be no surprise. Kansas City Chiefs. Yep, I went ahead and said it. Kansas City Chiefs. It looked like for just a second, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had Patrick Mahomes, had the Kansas City Chiefs. For just a second, Baker drives down the field, no timeouts, and puts the ball in the end zone. They're going to overtime. All the Bucs need to do is stop Patrick Mahomes. But you can't do it. 34 of 44, 3 touchdowns on a bum ankle in the rain. Kareem Hunt. Who knew he would be wearing a Chiefs uniform again? If you know, you know. A touchdown run. The game-winning touchdown run. Travis Kelce, best game of the year. 14 catches off 16 targets, 100 yards. D-Hop just got traded for a couple weeks ago. 8 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. All in the rain. Your star quarterback has a bum ankle, and he's still making plays. You legit can't stop the Chiefs. 8-0, unblemished, perfect record. I keep saying it. If they had lost this Tampa game, I don't even know if I'd move them off number 1. Like, this is legitimately the best team by a mile. So if your team didn't do much at the trade deadline, if your team's just not doing much at all, don't worry, because the Chiefs are going to host their 3rd back-to-back Super Bowl trophy this year, and ain't nobody having a say in that matter. But guys, this has been Out of Pocket. This has been our NFL trade deadline special. Usually we're starting at this time, 5:30, 6:30, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But that wasn't the case this week. What was the case is us giving you the best show we could. Thank you to Aitman. Thank you to Jason. Thank you to Shan for all coming on and helping talk about this NFL trade deadline. Guys, we appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Tell us in the comments what you liked, what you want to see more of, stuff you want us to talk about more in the future. Because Out Pocket will be back on Thursday, and Boom Broadcasting in the meantime will have all the content that you could ever dream of available for you. And right now available on demand is Shannon's Quick Hits episode, Jason's 3 from Deep episode. We'll have more content tomorrow and so on and so forth until Out Pocket is back Thursday, our normal time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. But guys, for all of us here at Out Pocket and Boom Broadcasting, this has been Michael Davis, your host. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. You had a ball making it. Thank you very much.